are tuned into my weekly talk radio TV show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced and get happy with Dr. Marissa. And this show is about hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have shows and topics.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days.
Monday, Tuesday,
Happy days.
Wednesday, Thursday,
Happy days.
Friday, whatever.
Happy days.
What a day. Na-na-na, na-na-na.
I love you.
I love you too.
Best known as the mom from Happy Days, and she is a delightful 89-year young Marion Ross to my studio. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Dr. Marissa, this is such a treat for me.
Oh.
My goodness, you're a wonderment.
Which is exactly the kind of guest that I like. Those who have gone through life, good and bad, and then taken those experiences to alchemize them into the person they are now and doing good on the planet. I'd like you to welcome Corey Feldman.
If you're grateful for it and you say right away, thank you, God. Oh, my God, it's so beautiful. I'm so blessed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Then guess what? More good things will come to you.
Does this sound familiar at all? She's back again to mark my Cancer Awareness and Prevention Month show. Please welcome Fran Drescher. Hi, Fran.
And supporting cancer schmance. I really appreciate it.
So what would you say are some of the biggest myths, Fran, that people have about cancer?
Well, I would say that they think that there's a cure for it.
Okay.
Instead of a cause for it.
This is the first call-in show when I get to be Dr. Marissa, the kinder, gentler Dr. Laura. And people call in to get their life tires balanced and their critical thinking or their BS, their belief systems, smog checked. And today I am delighted to have Malie calling in from Birmingham, Alabama.
We could go 90 days and end up having terrible sex. And then you say, well, the relationship's not all about sex. Well, if I'm not getting great sex from you, then I'm going to get it from somebody else. Right?
That moose just got put on the table. And I see Josh and Jim.
I have to agree
You're
with Clyde.
both nodding. Ramon's sort of half nodding because his wife's listening. But
I understood what was going to happen if Muhammad Ali's youngest daughter, made public that I was going to become a boxer. So I wanted to make sure this was the path that I wanted to go down.
you are absolutely fabulous, beautiful inside and out. And I'm giving you Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award today.
Thank you.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic point.
When I go, I'm gone.
Are you lonely?
No.
Nah, I knew that was going to be
But
the answer.
I surround myself with people. I mean, I'm always the one cooking for things. Or I'm always the one that decorates first and come to my house. All the orphans that have no place.
I'm going to have no place to go, so I can come over.
Come on over.
And life is so amazing if we can see it.
off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio station KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, home to the Asian Oprah, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Spreaker, and more. Why so many places? Well, I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness. And I am actually Dr. Marissa reporting live on location. I'm in San Diego, which is why there's a different background. And I'm so grateful for technologies that allows me to do this, covering the Secret Knock event that I'll tell you a little bit more about later. And I am super glad that you've been watching. I had a very special guest yesterday, Barbara Streisand's little sister, Rosalind Kind, who actually is a very good singer in her own right. And I don't know if you got the chance to watch that, Dr. Tiffanie, but as fellow singers, I think you would absolutely enjoy that. And yes, she's in the house. That means it is Wednesday, time for Doctors in the House. And that is my Wednesday special treat for you, my co-host. She's a certified OBGYN, which is why she's Dr. Tiffanie. And she is also a singer, songwriter, playwright, author, poet, you name it. That's who she is. And I am delighted to have her back with me. Please welcome back to the studio, Dr. Tiffanie Tate. And Frank, maybe you can hit that applause button. See if I can do it from here. She's going to have to. Yeah, wait, here we go. I wasn't sure if I could access that. As you can see, I am remote on location, but I'm glad I can hit the most important button on my panel. Welcome back, Dr. Tiffanie.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me again.
Of course. And we're going to start with breakfast, which is, and a hello, special hello. We have Sci-Fi Mombi in the Cashew Gallery manning that today. So please do. If you're driving, do not chat. But once you land wherever you're going after listening to the AM 1050 FM 106.5 channels, that way you can free subscribe to my YouTube channel and then chat with us. And today is a special day topic that Dr. Tiffanie is going to introduce. And then we're going to jump into breakfast, which is taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich. So what's the topic so we can tease them?
Okay. Today's topic is flags. And a lot of times we are not really sure about red flags. You can have red flags at work. You can have red flags in your personal life. So you can have professional red flags and personal red flags. And we'll delve into what are red flags and how you can adjust to them and approach them after we talk about our breakfast.
Yeah, sounds great. All right. Breakfast is a good life habit, a hashtag blisscipline. I started here over a year ago because I wanted to balance out all the bad news that's out there that is so readily available with starting your day with some good news. And that good news is personal. It's yours. So what are you grateful for? Top of the bun, 8 specific things. I know you thought I was Swedish. I'm actually Chinese. 8's a lucky number. It's a homophone for good fortune. So that's why we do 8. Go ahead. You start.
Actually, what I wanted to do is kind of roll mine all in together, if I can.
Oh, yeah.
So mine is kind of like a spotlight on Helen Keller, because this is Women's History Month. And Helen Keller was a disabled author, political activist, and advocate. And a lot of people don't really know the intricacies of Helen Keller. She was both deaf and blind, and she graduated from what's called Radcliffe College in 1904. A lot of people don't know that that is what's now known as Harvard University. And she was the first person who was deaf and blind to earn a college degree. But she also was a co-founder for the American Civil Liberties Union in 1920, which is the ACLU. And she was an early supporter of the NAACP, which is the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. And she was an opponent of lynchings. And she was an early proponent for birth control. So, with this being Women's History Month, I thought that those were important facts about Helen Keller that most people needed to know, because those are empowering facts for this phenomenal woman to be an activist with her differently abilities. And I'm very thankful for her.
I had no idea. I mean, I knew about the differently abled, but I had no idea that she did all of those things, which is so incredible, and just prove to you that really the only handicap in life is a bad attitude. And that I did not make up. It was from a friend of mine who had a stroke. His name is Larry Wilkes. He's now on the other side, enjoying heaven. But yeah, she's totally proof of that. That's incredible. Wow. Okay. So I am grateful that today is, drum roll. I have to get that. Remind me to get that sound effect. Yeah, there you go. It is Happy International Day of Happiness.
Yay.
So yeah, that. So this is now my favorite day of the year, because the hashtag happiness guru I've been called, of course, my number one bestselling book, which I got to sign yesterday at Secret Knock. And wow, I am so, so grateful that that is my brand, that is my message, that is what I'm recognized for, that it is our birthright to be happy 88% of the time. Why not 100%? Because if you're 100% happy, you're dead. And I don't want dead people walking, talking, or watching. Instead, I want you to know that 88% of the time, however, it is your birthright. 12% is for contrast. So today, please, if you need a little help, there's a Dr. Tiffanie can help you upgrade your happiness. I can help you. There's tons of coaches out there now that can help you with that. You don't try to fix your own car. So this is an investment in yourself for the rest of your life, to remove things that are keeping you from being happy. And usually it's yourself. So that's my commercial for happiness. I'm grateful that there's an actual day that is allotted to that. And thanks to Stacy Branch on my Instagram. And that's another wonderful social media link. I had no idea that she knew of me. And I'm so grateful that she's huge following. Again, I don't care about numbers, but I really care that people hook up to me who know that that's what my message is. So happy International Day of Happiness.
Wonderful. Absolutely. Another thing that I'm grateful for is that Mia had her recital this past Saturday, her senior recital, and it was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Yes, she blew it away.
Oh, how many songs did she sing?
11. It was a full-fledged concert, and it was
Wow.
phenomenal.
That's great. I'm so happy. I'm sorry I couldn't be there, but she has a beautiful voice. If you want proof of that, just go to my YouTube channel, look up our holiday sing along, and she does an amazing job on the show.
Mhm.
All right. I am grateful that I had it, and now, oh, I had a good date last night.
Oh,
I
congratulations.
know. Thank you. Just when I was beginning to think that I needed to take off my profile, that I wanted an alpha man because I was biting my tongue so much because I couldn't talk to give space for the alpha. I met an alpha man who really was a heart-centered lawyer.
Mm.
So very surprised, and he loves jazz. So we're gonna get to go second date on jazz, listen to some jazz down here in San Diego. So he's based here. So you know me, I capitalize multi stuff. If I'm down here for an event, might as well stick in a date, right?
Okay. Multitasking. We call that effective multitasking. There's nothing wrong
Yeah,
with it at all.
yeah. So that's my gratitude. And one more from you.
Okay. And I am grateful for the fact that while we were setting up for Mia's event, Nathaniel was admitted to another PhD school that he did not even apply for. He got an email just because professors talk and somebody heard that he was applying and they were like, I've heard of him. I heard him play. I like him too. We're going to create a spot for him and offer him a scholarship, and we're going to try to steal him away from you. Talk about how good God is. What a blessing. So
Wow.
I know he has so many options.
Where?
University of Kentucky. But the
Wow.
professor there plays very well, and he is strongly considering that. He's
Well,
still
I hope so.
Yeah, he's like the PhD program with a TA-ship and everything. And they're like, oh, you can work and do all the things that he wants to do. And so I'm just like, okay, well, look at God. I said, walk through whatever door God opens up for you, honey. Keep all your options open. So,
Yeah, that's wonderful and fabulous. And my
mhm.
last gratitude is my younger daughter's coming for a visit, so I get to spend a little time. Did you hear that? There was like this shh, 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 shh.
Mm-mm.
No? Okay, good. And so when I get back from this event, the Secret Knock event here, uh, I get to see her. And oh, we got a heart somewhere along the line. Thank you so much for that. We love reactions here. Please give us the finger, not that one, but this one. And then we can acknowledge you when you identify in the chat. I am grateful that Secret Knock is a stage that I've gotten to speak at before. My friend, he calls me family, his son Colt, Dr. Greg Reed does this annual event called Secret Knock. I think it's now twice a year. And his speakers, you never know who the speakers are, and they're always fabulous. Yesterday, I got to hear the man behind the music for Seinfeld, for Will and Grace, for all those music themes. And guess who was there? Because they asked, what's the most memorable episode of Seinfeld for you? I'll ask you that question. Do you remember?
Oh, yes, the soup Nazi.
Guess who was there? Guess who was there?
Who?
The soup Nazi.
Oh my God, no soup for you.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that he's coming back today. I didn't get a chance to interview him after the fact because I had the date. So hopefully he's there today and I'll get a soundbite from him. But I thought that was super cool. So there's my gratitude. And let's go to the bottom of the button, which is what do you appreciate about yourself? My BS belief system is that good mental health starts right here, not out there, not with taking something, but actually learning how to work your muscle of self love, self approval, self soothing. And when you do that, you're more likely to fall asleep because you're not thinking about who said what did I do, I'm not good enough. Instead, you're thinking about, I like that I am a caring person 88% of the time. And when I'm there, and that's my first appreciation for myself, then I can fall asleep faster. And I'm also nicer to be around.
I
What do you
like
like about yourself?
I like that I am resilient. And when I get knocked down, I get back up and I keep pushing. And I don't get deterred from that because life gets hard. And you really just have to take a licking and keep on ticking. And you can't let life or circumstances overwhelm you.
Absolutely. I appreciate my ability to sing. And I've been invited to compete in the international karaoke competition. So I'm learning my audition piece. Um, if I should stay, I would only be in your way. How's that?
Sounds good. Gooda, gooda, gooda.
No song for you. Yeah, I'm very happy that I get to get back into singing. Welcome to Orville Nation is in the house. He is going to be my co-host tomorrow again, filling in for James Hawthorne. So you better be here tomorrow. For those of you who are on the chat, it's going to be a great show. Let's see. Where were we? We were doing appreciation. If you have
Yes,
anything, put it in the chat. Let's do one more each.
let's
Your turn.
see. And I appreciate my humor. You know, I don't take myself too seriously. And I believe that laughter is the best medicine. And I enjoy life and I try to make other people smile. You know, I sometimes send you memes if I come across.
Yes, you do. So
And so
funny.
I believe sharing is caring. And I can be a goofball. And I like that about myself.
Yeah, I do too. Back at you. Um, I appreciate my uh, n- anti self consciousness or, minimal self consciousness because I'll just say or do. It's different than no filter. I have a filter. I was taught by a wonderful man who was the co-founder of the Deepak Chopra Center
Mhm.
in San Diego, that ask yourself three questions before you speak. Is it true? Is it kind? And is it necessary? So I have that filter, but I do have a tendency to really jump on an inspired act. So if I see a piano, I'll sit down and play. If I see something funny, I will point it out, laugh out loud. And I don't really care if you think I'm silly or quirky. I've owned my quirkiness now. So I appreciate that about myself. All right. That's it for breakfast. Taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich this morning with Doctors in the House with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
and I promise that if you do this little discipline for 28 consecutive days, either on or off the show with me, you will sandwich your day in the most positive way, especially since today is the International Day of Happiness. All righty, it is time for the topic of the day, which can we sing together? I don't know still if we're allowed to, like if the sound will support it, but
You can
this one
alternate. You can take a
does
verse,
it.
take a verse. That's about
Okay.
as it goes.
Okay. Well, I was Stop in the name of love.
I'll go. Before you break my heart.
Stop in the name of love.
Before you break my heart.
Na, 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 na. That is the topic for today. And go ahead.
So, yes, red flags. You definitely want to stop and think it over because red flags can be an issue. But what is a red flag? A red flag is some type of problematic behavior or problem within a system. And it can lead to a bigger ongoing problem, and it can be professionally or personally. Doesn't mean you need to leave a situation. Only you can decide whether or not you can do, what you should do. A lot of times it can cause unnecessary stress, strain, or anxiety. But what I figured was we should talk about it and decide, is it a red flag? Is it a yellow flag? And do you need to wave your white flag? So, what is it that you need to do to identify the problem and address the problem? And let's talk about it. As
Yeah.
Dr. Marissa would say, put the moose on the table.
That's right. My Canadian version of talking about the elephant in the room. And I'm going to go personal, not personal, but I do really like to anchor some conceptual stuff in reality so that you can relate. Otherwise, it doesn't really apply. And I'm all about application. So I'll first give you the example that I dealt with on Monday when I did Mental Health Matters Monday awareness and healing from things that are getting in the way of your happiness. And the question that came to me from someone on YouTube was, should I date someone who is recently divorced? So now, my recommendation was, and Mombi, who is on the chat, was very nice to validate some of the things I said, that his talking badly about his ex during the date constantly, or, in her personal case herself. And I admitted, it's very difficult not to, but that is a flag. I would say that is a red flag that they're still really caught up in that drama and that everything is reactive to the anger and disappointment or betrayal or resentment of that relationship. And when you're with someone who is that activated by their ex, that's a red flag. That's saying they're I mean, on one hand, you're the shoulder that they can lean on and vent on, and you feel bad as a friend. But if you want to get romantically tied to someone who's that raw still, that's your red flag. So if they're talking about their exes on a regular basis, that would be a red flag to say, just be friends and then wait for them to get to that point of healing if they're worth waiting for. So there's an example of a red flag. And I'll give a personal one. I I knew before I married my husband that, and even my father, who is also a worrywart by his own admission when he was alive, he would say, I would say, well, what do you think of him? And he'd say, well, he's kind of like that Peanuts character that walks around with the the rain cloud, you know? And I'm like, yeah. And I actually broke up with him before we got married, saying, you need some therapy. Um, and that was my red flag that I ignored because once he told me he had been to one session and then a friend of ours died suddenly of a heart attack, and I was not in a stable place. guess who I called? One thing led to another, and we got back together. So that was a red flag that I ignored. And again, let's balance it out with I don't believe that in all of our experiences, we don't do anything wrong. We don't, it's really not a mistake, it's a mistake. And therefore, we all have learnings from not following our red, but it's not a punishment. Nobody's punishing us for making that choice. It's just a point of learning for us, probably a harder than necessary way, but it is, I don't want this to be a session about beating ourselves up because we didn't follow the red flag.
Hmm. Absolutely. A lot of times when you are in love, you lose a sense of self often, and everything becomes a lesson. So there is no right or wrong, essentially. And a lot of times, if somebody is, say, smitten with their ex and they're constantly talking with their ex, they can't really be focused on you. And they might even call you their ex's name. So that's a red flag.
No shiitake.
So they should be able to get your name right. And so only you can decide if they're worth working with and working through that. Nobody can tell you what to do when it comes to your relationship. No friends, no families, or anything like that. Only you can decide. Now, if you just met this person and you're only like a week or two into the relationship, if you want to cut bait and move on, okay. But if you are years into it and you're fully vested and you want to work it out, again, that's completely up to you. No one can tell you what to do. This is your heart. And when it comes to matters of the heart, it's a little bit more difficult. If this person is constantly criticizing you and beating you down and belittling you, you know how they're making you feel. And this is compromising your happiness. And I know that I've been on the receiving end of stuff like that. And Dr. Marissa always says, taking it personally, that's from my personal experience. I've been on the receiving end of emotional abuse, where somebody is like, okay, you're that depressed person, and it doesn't feel good to be on the receiving end, to be in a toxic relationship. Only you know when to say when. That is a red flag, and only you know when to wave that flag. And so when you are in that type of relationship, if you want to persevere, that's fine. But when your happiness is at stake. And if you want to get counseling with that person, that's fine. A lot of times we've grown up in systems of abuse, so we've normalized abuse. And to a certain extent, we are addicted to abuse. Now, that could be a show in and of itself, that addiction to abuse, because we've normalized it. And so we think, oh, it's okay, it's all right. And so we have normalized that addiction and we just sweep it under the rug. And if you want to be okay with that, that's fine. But if that person you're with, you've talked to them, you say, hey, I really don't like you talking to me that way, and they don't want to talk to you, that lack of communication, that is also a red flag. Sometimes people don't want to talk to you. If they're gaslighting you and they're always turning it around on you, that too is a red flag. Been there, done that. What do you think, Dr. Marissa?
Mm. Yeah, a lot in there. I'll do a station ID first. If you just tuned in and you're wondering what's going on in the studio and why is my background so strange today, this is Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show on KCAA, NBC News Radio, leaving no listener behind, home to the Asian Oprah. AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and my YouTube channel, where if you free subscribe, you will get an alert to tune in every weekday morning. And as an aside, tomorrow's show, we're going to be launching the added component of my show, offering some membership stuff. So you want to tune in for that. No thanks to Orville Nation. So we are Doctors in the House, my very special Wednesday series with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
And we are talking about red flags, not just in relationships, but in jobs as well. And we're talking about when to take things personally as well, specific to Dr. Tiffany's comment. And I will say that when we talk about abuse, when we talk about being, staying in a situation too long, being with controlling people, manipulative people, being gaslighted. At some point, I believe that it is not helpful to continue to point the finger outside of you and blaming the other person for it, but it's most important to pay attention to the three fingers that are pointed back at you to ask yourself, why do I keep attracting bullies, bully bosses, abusive mates, narcissistic friends? Because if there's a pattern in your life of that, the problem is not with them, it is with you, boo. And I say that personally, I'm not blaming you again. I had to learn this the hard way. My personal experience was one more time I would come home to this marriage. I'd been away for a week. He didn't even look up when I walked in the forking room. I was so pissed, ticked off, and stomped up the stairs, dove into my bed, put the covers over, and why doesn't he listen to me? Why doesn't he appreciate me? Why doesn't he love me? Why isn't he attractive? And all of a sudden, I heard this voice, and this is, where red flags come from, that everybody has it, that center, healthy part of you, the wise that is always conspiring for you, never against you, that said, do you value yourself? Do you love yourself? Do you pay attention to yourself? Do you care about yourself? And it was that one of those, huge moments of aha, that the problem was not him. The problem was me. And so that turned the whole situation around, where I looked and took responsibility for my own level of attraction and what I was attracting to me. And it was the most wonderful aha, because I now have the power, and I know that I create my reality. I know that depending on where I am up here and what I'm feeling and how I'm acting, I can either bring not good, bad. I can bring a positive feeling things and people to me, or negative feeling and people to me, depending on where I am. I'm the boss of that level of attraction. And that was such a powerful thing to learn, and one that I continue to teach and coach. And the 8 Ways to Happiness is exactly a workbook to teach you how to do that, and I'm grateful that that's my job.
And
Yeah.
when you start looking at jobs, it's like, well, how do you know that a job is abusive or somewhat shady? What are the signs? You can look at the reviews. You can look at the turnover rate. Some jobs have a lack of transparency. They have vague job descriptions. So you can look at the reputation, if it has a poor online reputation. And sometimes there's inadequate compensation of the benefits. And if you talk to the employees there, you can look at it before you even take the job. And then once you're there, sometimes you can see the atmosphere when you're talking with your fellow employees. There's dissatisfaction, and then there's just an overall abusiveness of the administration. And then you get into an atmosphere where there's this thing called the silent quitting. Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah. I call it dead people working.
Yes. And so people don't know whether they should quit their job, but where they sort of don't really put in the full effort, where they put in minimal effort at their job. And you go through the motions, but you're not 100% in there. So some people do that in the relationships as well. So you have these parallels between work and private life. And that's why I said you have these red flags that can overlap between professional life and personal life. And so when you start looking at things, you can evaluate both and say, okay, how do I want to live? If you want to live completely happy, since today is Happiness Day, you really want to take inventory of what you want out of life and what you want out of your relationship. I can't tell you what to do. Dr. Marissa can't tell you what to do.
Well, I
But
can, but you're probably not going to listen. But anyways, go ahead. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
but that was very cute. But you should really take inventory about what you want out of your life and what you want out of your relationship. And I believe all roads lead to self-inventory and communication with your partner. What do you think, Dr. Marissa?
I totally agree. I think self-awareness is the first step if you really want and I think we should do it all the time. I think the fact that we're only asked uh when you're little, what do you want to be when you grow up, or when you're about to launch into college, what's your major, what do you want to be, what's your field of study? And then, once we follow this prescribed American way of marrying someone, having kids, having a job, being the best of whatever that is, the rat race, trying to get to that top when there's 1,000 people going for the same position. That way is one that will not fulfill you. Uh, but asking all the time, who am I? What do I want? And I do that often when I introduce on the red carpet, and I want you to introduce yourself to whoever's listening. I'll say, I don't have an answering machine, I have a questioning machine. And when you call me, it says, who are you and what do you want? And the more we can ask that question of ourselves, then the more apt we are to up level our happiness. Because when we get into the habit of just doing things over and over and over, we are susceptible to staying in situations that aren't good for us, where we are addicted to the drama, as you mentioned before, where it's just it's acceptable to be treated badly because you're used to it. And as one of the 7 out of 10 of us who've had childhood trauma, Dr. Tiffany's the same way. Those habits of coping when you're little that helped you stay alive are damaging in your adult life, because you're accepting things thinking you're the kid that can't change the situation anymore. But you're not. You're an adult that can say, whoa, Nelly, you don't talk to me like that. And, you're big enough to stop any physical abuse. But many of us are not happy because we carry those coping mechanisms that we, learned when we were kids, and bring them into our past and spew them onto our future, to the point where we're in bad relationships. We've ignored the red flags. In fact, we've ignored the yellow flags, which Orville Nation says how many yards are penalized on those yellow flags. And I'll say 8 yards. And Mr. Funny, but the point is well taken, that I don't think we're given red flags, but there are yellow flags. And when you're given yellow flags is the point of first notice to make changes. And if you don't, I call it the labyrinth of shiitake. If you don't catch it at the top, negative thinking, you let it get to worst case scenario. And if you don't catch it there, it goes to the effinator. What did I do to deserve this? And then it's really difficult to get out of that. So if you can catch it in the yellow stages of, oh, I'm having a negative thought, I'm having a judgment here, I'm having an insight, that is a very much more helpful place.
Mhm. I believe Maya Angelou said it best: when you know better, you do better. And I found this. It says, once you identify red flags, you should ask yourself the following questions: do I feel free to be myself? Do I maintain other relationships outside of my romantic one? Does my partner support my goals and dreams? Do I feel a strong need to please my partner no matter what? And does my partner and I maintain our own interests and hobbies? And do I constantly question whether my partner loves or likes me? And if you are okay with all those, your relationship is probably worth saving. And then I found 5 green flags that you should be looking out for. I thought that was interesting. That
Yes.
that they incorporate you in your life, into their life. If your partner is always trying to go places without you and trying to be around their family without you, that's a concern, because then they're not really truly wanting you in their life. They respect your boundaries. They pay attention to the little things. They're good at communicating, and they're kind to everyone. So
Mm.
I thought that was
Mm.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that actually, I felt that on my date last night, which is pretty amazing. I got quite a few green flags. And I want to say a quick hello here. Your ears must have been burning, Elena. Last time I talked to PJ, your name came up in a good way. And I am happy to see you in the chat. Orville is equally as happy. And I just love the fact that technology and StreamYard, shout out to StreamYard, allows us this live way to interact. If you are just tuned in and wondering what's going on in studio, this is Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. Consecutive week 620, show number 1129, and a very special Wednesday series called Doctors in the House with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
and we're talking about red flags and green flags and what to do when you're up against a red flag and what to balance it all out and look for in green flags. Happy to see you. Absolutely. What's this one? I need glasses. Oh, yes. Hot date last night. You missed the opener. That was part of my gratitude list. And dating is certainly, I would say, the number one opportunity to look for signs of red flags and green flags. And it's a very useful exercise. Those of you know that I've been doing swipe or no swiping, to be careful on your profile. And I was actually critiqued because I would ask after the fact. Before I started engaging in a conversation, and I would ask them if they supported President number 45, because I don't like arguing about politics, and the last thing I want is someone I choose to spend time in my personal life with who doesn't uh, have the same base level values. And because of his misogynism and a number of other things, that's important to me. And they said, well, if it's that important, then you should put it on your profile. And I went, you're right. So I went back and I changed it. And there's a question, red flags. And so that way I don't have to spend any more time. I know the people that have swiped me, hopefully, have read enough of that to know that if there's a match or not. And again, not criticizing, well, I am sort of, but it's not important what it is. It's important that you match.
Mhm.
That's the most important thing. What do you think?
I agree. I agree. And I'm going to read a quick poem. It's called Fairy Tale Love. And this is from my book, Floetry 108 Poetic Flows on Life, Love, and Liturgical Issues. Once upon a time, I dreamt of love. You know, the type that fairy tale stories are made of. I dreamt of all the warm feelings encompassed thereof. The love you think of when you see two turtle doves. Fairy tale love has its own attractive bling. When in fairy tale love, you hear the birds around you sing. Watch out if you both have been hit by Cupid's arrow zing. When two people are in love, it can lead to a wedding ring. Fairy tale loves make you feel warm and fuzzy inside. You can try to run from it, but you just can't hide. Lean into it, buckle up, and get ready for the love roller coaster ride. You'll find life fulfilling. If you love, you will abide. So,
And that was our resident poet, Dr. Tiffanie Tate, who read a poem from her book, her first book that she actually came and shared on the show years and years and years ago as a guest of mine. It's Floetry. And you can get it anywhere, Amazon, other, just Google, use my assistant Google and put in Floetry or Dr. Tiffanie Tate, and it will come up for you and support her creative endeavors with a purchase of that book. Elena Chapman had a comment here agreeing about the match in some core values. I think religion and politics are two of the top ones. She says, I agree. She's going to a Democratic fundraiser tomorrow. Should be interesting. You never know. You might meet someone there. And Orville Nation, yeah, if something is really important to you, might as well put the moose on the table. And he's saying lay it on the table. Let's see. Oh, made me fuzzy wuzzy inside, Dr. Tiffany, which is very cute.
thank you.
A reaction to her poem. Yeah, and okay, so red flags, yellow flags, green flags. I have learned now that I have stopped believing my own bullshit talkie. My BS belief system was that I was fine for the last 7 years with my career, myself. I do everything once, marriage, divorce, and having a partner really wasn't in the cards for me. Required way too much of the C word, compromise, and the P word, which is not even in my vocabulary, patience. So when I was doing my book tour in Australia, I sold out, which is great, but that left me with very little to do. And before I went to New Zealand, so I my girlfriend of mine said, "Why don't you get on a swiping thing?" And I'm like, "What?" But it was the thing to do because I did begin to notice that there is some value to having partners. And I know that sounds stupid because I often coach people, yes, get a partner because that kind of love is not love you can get from your family or friends. It's a different kind of, making your toes curl or that little butterfly. But hey, the name of my show is Take My Advice. I'm not using it. So of course I don't have a relationship, but I'm happy to say that I have been the reverse 7-year itch. I am back into the dating pool, sticking various parts of my body in there. Don't go there. But that's why I'm specifically talking about dating and red and green flags. So, all right. Uh, more, Dr. Tiffany.
I would say when you notice a red flag early in a relationship, take note of them and decide whether or not it is a stop sign or a cautionary sign, and decide what you want to do about it.
Give me
Because
an example.
I would say if you just met somebody, I was in the gym on my way to water aerobics, and someone approached me and was like, "Hey, I want to take you out on a date." And I'm like, "I'm just trying to do my thing on my way to water aerobics. I don't know you." And on my way out, they approached me again and they were like, "I want your number. I want to take you out on a date." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm not interested." And if I say I'm involved with somebody and they're still pushing, and they're still pushing, I think that's a red flag. That's a little too aggressive. Um, if I say I'm going to give you somebody else's number, that should be okay. But don't be overly aggressive. I can understand you expressing your interest, but being overly aggressive is not necessarily the right thing to do.
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
that's a red flag. You need to be able to respect boundaries.
Yeah.
Not respecting boundaries is a red flag. So
I totally agree with you. Those first interactions, it's just amazing to me how men who say they want long term, open to short term, will come at me with hoping you're having a great day. Wonderful to see you're very attractive. And then, like 2 statements later, can't wait to have your legs wrapped around me. I mean, that is a huge red flag because it's so quickly to that thing. I mean, I love the fact that people are, saying that I'm sexy, but if you're going that quickly, that is a total red flag. Um, that they really aren't where their words are. So, uh, yeah, exactly. And thank you for the compliment that she thinks I'm a good catch, and I'm actually getting to that point where I believe it myself, and that's the key learning for me is that everything's going to be a red flag unless I am able to be open enough to receive that attention. So, the way that you explained it, Dr. Tiffanie, you're open to the attention, but not, when you value people who actually listen to what you're saying, and you're saying, you know, thank you, but no thank you, right? And
yeah,
they didn't hear it, and it doesn't matter, right?
yeah, that
Yeah.
part. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And we're coming up on probably, I have
3
to flip
minutes.
back and forth there. 3 minutes. Thank you.
Mhm.
Uh I am on location in San Diego, so on the phone, but happy that I can still come at you live. So, final word, yours.
My final word would be to don't trust your gut, because sometimes your gut can mislead you. I want you to take a beat and evaluate your situation. And after evaluating your situation, and then go with how your heart and your mind and your whole body is assessing the situation, how you're feeling. So don't just go with your gut, go with your mind, your heart, and your whole body, because your stress, your anxiety, everything will lead you.
Yeah.
Go with how you're feeling. Don't just go with your gut, because your gut can mislead you based on your history. Let
Yeah.
that lead you, let that guide you professionally, personally, and try to be happy.
Sounds good. And we're out of time. My final word is have fun and don't take yourself too seriously, but you deserve to be happy 88% of the time here on this International Day of Happiness. And we just got some great comments here, but we're going to have to say goodbye. It's all about balance. It's all about balance. Peace in, peace out. World peace through inner peace. This is Dr. Marissa reporting live here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind. Tune in tomorrow for Dr. Marissa and Orville Nation on Straight Talk. Now go and have the best day ever. Bye.